Revealed, Millionaire finds his mother after 30 years, discovering an amazing life-changing bond. Jack Thompson stood in his kitchen, the morning sun casting a warm glow over the sleek countertops of his sprawling suburban home. As a self-made millionaire, he had everything a man could dream of: money, success, and respect. Yet, as he sifted through the mundane pile of mail, a letter caught his eye. Its familiar scent enveloped him, awakening memories long buried. Eagerly, he tore it open, revealing the handwritten words of his mother. "I've been fighting an illness," it read, and suddenly, the world felt like it was crashing down around him. Emotions surged through him: shock, anger, and a deep, aching sadness. His heart raced. How could she have reached out after all these years? Jack's thoughts spiraled back to his childhood, recalling sleepless nights spent wondering why she had left. She was supposed to be his guiding light, but instead, she vanished into the fog of his memory. At that moment, everything he'd achieved felt hollow, a gilded cage wrapped around his aching heart. As he read further, feelings of resentment surged. All those years alone, fighting to make a life out of the struggles she'd left. A whirlwind of memories flooded his mind, her laughter mixed with the sound of slamming doors. Driven by an overwhelming mix of emotions, Jack grabbed his keys and set out on a road trip that wasn't just about crossing miles but reconciling a lifetime of heartache. This wasn't just a drive across the state, it was a journey to face the ghosts of his past. With each mile marker, he reflected on the stark contrast of his upbringing and the life he now led. He saw the disparities along his route: wealth and poverty coexisting, silently telling tales of struggle, resilience, and loss. As he drove through the quaint town where his mother had been living, he felt a pull and need to understand the woman who had once turned her back on him. He parked outside a community center, a place that buzzed with life and hope. The vibrant faces that greeted him told stories of a woman who had poured her heart into her community, uplifting the very people that he had once taken for granted. The warmth of their smiles stung in contrast to his own misplaced anger. In a heartbeat, the reunion came. Jack found himself staring into the eyes of the woman he had missed for 30 years. Her embrace was unexpected, both familiar and foreign. It was his mother, yet a stranger. And as they began to talk, all those words left unsaid flooded into that small room. He challenged her choices, his voice quaking with unresolved pain. "How could you leave me?" he demanded, each word laced with a mix of anguish and longing. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the conversation unfolded, everything felt heavier. What could he do now? Would he cling to his success or redefine his understanding of wealth? Would he have the strength to forgive? With that, Jack stood on the edge of a profound transformation, caught between anger and the flicker of hope that his heart had yearned for all these years. Would he find it in himself to rebuild the bond that once defined them both? The air felt electric, filled with the unspoken question echoing in the silence between them. What does it really mean to come home? Jack's heart raced as his mother, Maria, took a deep breath. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, reflecting the mix of emotions swirling in the room. She opened her mouth, and Jack braced himself, expecting the well-rehearsed explanations that had haunted his dreams for years. But what came next took him completely off guard. "Jack," she began softly, "I was scared of being a mother." Each word felt like a wave, washing over him, pulling him deeper into the past. The vulnerability in her voice touched a part of him he'd kept locked tight. "I thought I'd hold you back." The pain in her voice echoed like a haunting melody, replaying scenes of loneliness he had grown too familiar with. "So, I pushed away the one thing I loved most to make sure you had a better life, even if it meant my own heart was shattered." The room felt heavy, the weight of regret filling the space between them. How could a choice like that be born from love? Anger bubbled up within Jack, but instead of lashing out, he found himself searching her face for an answer. Better life? He repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. I had nothing without you. His arms crossed defensively. You think I was better off alone? Maria's eyes glistened. I never imagined you'd become the man you are today. I see the life you've built, and I wish it didn't have to come at the cost of our time together. Their silence stretched on, filled with memories of a past both beautiful and painful. Jack's mind wrestled with all those nights, the birthdays, graduations, and milestones that passed without her. He had pushed away those moments to succeed, but now they stood out like glaring voids. What do you want from me? He finally asked. His voice trembled, caught between hope and fear. Do you want forgiveness? Do you want to be part of my life after everything? Maria leaned in, her voice softening as if she wanted to wrap him in warmth. I want to learn about the man you've become, she said. I want to try to mend what was broken. I want to be part of your life if you'll let me. Jack swallowed hard. Could he let down the walls he had built? Did he even know how to build bridges? His heart ached with the possibility of what could be, yet fear loomed in the corner, whispering the worst fears he could imagine. Let's take it slow, he finally said, his voice steadying. We can talk. But I'm not sure I can just forget everything. Neither can I, Maria admitted, her expression earnest. But I believe we can find our way, one step at a time. Jack nodded, feeling a flicker of something he hadn't in years: hope. This fragile thread stood where his anger had once cast its shadow. What would that path look like? Was it truly possible to heal? As they began to talk, piecing together the fragments of each other's lives, a loud knock interrupted their moment. A community leader entered, her expression a blend of urgency and concern. Maria, we need your help. The fundraiser is in trouble, and she paused, noticing Jack. Oh, you must be Jack. Your mother has spoken of you. Caught off guard, Jack's instincts kicked in. He recognized this interruption not just as an inconvenience but a glimpse into her world, the very world she had built brick by brick without him. Can I help? He blurted out before he could second-guess himself. Maria raised an eyebrow, a look of surprise crossing her face. But then, a smile bloomed, brighter than the morning sun filtering through the window. Just like that? She asked, her tone shifting from grief to surprise. Yeah, let's see what we can do together. As Jack followed her out, a flood of new questions bubbled in his mind. Would this lead to more understanding, or was it merely another distraction? One thing he knew for sure was that this was just the beginning, and his heart raced at the possibilities before him. What lay ahead as they stepped into the chaos of the community together, hand in hand, the urgency of their partnership loomed larger than he ever imagined. What else would he discover about himself and the mother he thought he had lost forever? The lively bustle of the community center enveloped Jack and Maria as they stepped through the doorway. The air was thick with laughter, driven by the sounds of clinking glasses and the hustle of volunteers arranging tables and decorations. It felt both foreign and strangely comforting, like entering a room filled with old acquaintances he had yet to meet. Come on. Maria urged, grabbing his hand gently. Her enthusiasm seeped through the walls he had spent years building. The silent auction's about to start, and you won't believe what we've managed to put together. Jack fought against the surge of uncertainty rising within him. Was he really ready for this? But as she pulled him into the heart of the event, he couldn't shake off the feeling that he needed to be here with her. It was a chance to reconnect, even if just a little. The walls adorned with colorful banners and photos narrated tales of community achievements and local heroes, stories that Maria had woven into the fabric of her life. Each frame seemed to whisper her name, and as Jack caught snippets of her conversations with others, he felt an unexplainable pride swell within him. As the crowd cheered for the first auction item, a local artist's painting, Jack watched Maria's face light up. She was transformed, shedding the weight of their last conversation for now. Her laughter rang clear above the chatter, and Jack reveled in the way her happiness resonated with him. People in this town admire her so much, he thought, a mix of admiration and heartbreak swirling inside. The realization stung. All those years, she had followed her dreams and built something magnificent without him, while he had forged his path alone, carrying the burden of their separation. Jack! She turned, catching him lost in thought. I think we should go bid on that vintage guitar for Chris. He's done so much for the local youth band. Right. He nodded quickly, grateful for the distraction. Together, they made their way to the auction table. Jack felt the pulse of excitement wash over him as they placed a bid on the guitar, sharing whispers and laughter that danced between them like the soft flicker of candlelight. With each moment, something began to shift inside him. Despite the crowds, Jack found a quiet intimacy in their budding partnership. The more they interacted with the guests, the easier it became for him to speak, to laugh, to actually enjoy being there with his mother beside him. Jack, you should tell them about your work. Maria suggested, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. Your app could really help the community. Jack hesitated. The thought of showcasing himself felt daunting. But her belief in him sparked a flicker of courage. Okay, maybe just a little. As he shared his tech-focused plans to aid local businesses, a wave of applause rolled through the room, washing away lingering doubts. Suddenly, the unexpected felt real. The connection with Maria felt real. Their new beginning was taking root in the most unlikely of places. But just as Jack began to settle into this newfound synergy, a familiar face emerged from the crowd, a looming figure from his past. Sam, his childhood friend, pushed through the attendees, his face marked with disbelief. Jack. Is that really you? Sam's voice carried a mix of astonishment and judgment as he approached. Jack's heart dropped. Could this moment truly last, or would it unravel now that someone from his past had entered the picture? Before you say anything, Jack began, but Maria stepped in, a protective mother bear in this strange new world they were creating together. What do you want, Sam? She asked, her voice firm but steady. The tension thickened around them, and Jack felt the warmth of their earlier connection flicker dangerously. Would he stand strong beside Maria, or allow the past to disrupt their fragile hope? As the reality of the looming confrontation took hold, Jack's heart raced once more. What path would he choose as old wounds threatened to resurface? Jack's heart pounded in his chest, blood rushing in his ears as he faced Sam. The years of distance vanished, replaced by memories of shared laughter, fleeting moments of joy, and the bitter sharpness of their falling out. He had spent so long trying to forget, to move on, but here was Sam, the embodiment of everything he had buried. Sam, Jack forced out, his voice barely above a whisper, what are you doing here? I could ask you the same, Sam said, squinting as if trying to reconcile the past with the present. You just vanish, and now you're back living this life. He gestured broadly, taking in the vibrant community center filled with laughter and hope. Maria, observant and sharp, stepped a fraction closer to Jack, her protective energy radiating like a shield. Why don't you just get to the point, Sam? Her voice rang firm, creating a little bubble of strength around them. Jack had never seen her like this, it was striking and grounding all at once. Sam seemed to hesitate, perhaps taken aback by Maria's fierce determination. I just wanted to see if Jack had changed. After everything, he trailed off, an uncertain look on his face, a hint of regret surfacing behind the mask of judgment. The sound of the auction continued in the background, but everything else around Jack fell away. He needed to respond, to reclaim not just this moment, but the strength he had started to find with Maria. I have changed, Sam. I'm not the kid who ran from everything anymore. I'm trying to be part of something. The words hung in the air, heavy and raw. Sam's expression shifted from disbelief to curiosity. You really mean that? Yes, Jack replied, his voice steadier. I'm back with my mother, and he glanced at Maria, who offered him a slight nod of encouragement. It's something I didn't think I'd ever have. I'm trying to be parts of her life. This community. It's more than I ever expected. The crowd buzzed around them, excitement bubbling with each bid. Jack felt a flicker of hope intertwined with uncertainty. Sam's past hurt was a bridge he hadn't anticipated needing to cross today. I never thought you'd care again, Sam admitted, his bravado faltering. You just disappeared without a word. I thought it was the best for everyone, Jack replied, fighting the urge to overflow with emotion. But now, I see it was just me hiding. I want to make things right. For a moment, silence surrounded them, as the community center seemed to pause, the laughter dimming slightly. Jack felt the weight of Sam's gaze, the judgment softening into something resembling understanding. He glanced at Maria, her reassuring presence grounding him. What about us? Sam finally asked, the question weaving a thread of longing and nostalgia through the air. I thought we could have been different. Jack swallowed hard. The enormity of it all rushed back the good, the bad, the could-have-beens. Maybe we can be, he said slowly, making a decision to bridge the chasm with hope instead of fear. But it starts with honesty, and I need to figure out where we fit into each other's lives from here. The flicker of warmth he had enjoyed with Maria began to flow back into him. He could feel the threads of connection weaving together, but they were still delicate. Can we talk later? Sam said, his voice barely above a whisper, vulnerability shining through. Sure, Jack replied, a cautious optimism filling him. But before they could delve deeper, a commotion erupted within the crowd as someone swung by, yelling out the next auction item to everyone's delight. Laughter surged once more, wrapping itself around Jack and Maria as they took a step back from the emotional precipice. Jack breathed deeply, absorbing the moment. He looked at Maria, who smiled warmly, as if acknowledging the victory of confronting the past while stepping boldly into the present. But as the crowd erupted into cheers for the next item, Jack realized that the past wasn't done with him yet. Old patterns would take time to unravel. The real fight was just beginning, and every choice now felt pivotal. Hey, how about we go check on that guitar? Maria suggested, a light in her eye. Just as Jack opened his mouth to agree, a distant scream pierced through the buzz of the event, freezing everyone in place. The air thickened with dread, and he felt a chill trickle down his spine. What was that? He asked, his heart hammering again, this time for a different reason. Maria's expression turned serious. I don't know, but we should see. And as they turned together to confront whatever lay ahead, Jack couldn't shake off the feeling that everything was about to change. And maybe, just maybe, it was the moment he truly had to face the depth of his new reality. The crowd surged toward the source of the scream, a wave of panic flowing through the gathered community. Jack felt his heart race. Something wasn't right, and the warmth he'd just found began to feel fragile. The vibrant atmosphere of the auction evaporated, replaced by uncertainty. Stay close, Maria said, gripping Jack's hand tightly as they edged forward, drawn by curiosity and a sense of responsibility. They pushed through the throng of people, their faces morphing from excitement to alarm. Jack found himself feeling protective of Maria, not just of himself, as the chaos stirred around them. As they arrived at the center of the commotion, Jack's stomach knotted. An older woman lay sprawled on the floor. Her glasses were cracked, the safety of her world shattered like the tiny shards littering her lap. Two bystanders were crouched beside her, murmurs of concern escaping their lips. Call for help. Someone shouted, the urgency slicing through the air. Jack felt a familiar surge of adrenaline and instinct to act. He knelt down beside the woman, assessing her condition. Her eyes were closed, and her breathing was shallow and quick. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Jack asked, though doubt filled him as he studied her face. She looked older, her skin a patchwork of lines, but there was something in those features that tugged at his memory. "Don't move her." Someone else protested, their voice sharp. "She could have injured herself. Yeah, we need to check her breathing and pulse," Maria interjected, her own fears masked by a calmness Jack admired. She instinctively reached for the woman's wrist. People all around them were dialing phones, their worried faces alight with fear. Jack, steadying himself, couldn't he shake off a strange sense of recognition. "Wait, I think I know her," he murmured, his heart pounding. This wasn't he just a stranger, the flicker of familiarity freaked him out. "Jack." Maria looked at him, confusion flashing across her face. "Are you sure?" Before he could respond, the woman blinked awake, her eyes fluttering open. "What happened?" she croaked, her voice trembling like the leaves on a windy day. "Easy, easy," Jack said gently, trying to keep her still, his fingers lightly brushing her forehead as if to console. "You fainted. We called for help. Can you tell us your name?" "Margaret," she whispered, her gaze flitting from Jack to Maria. Recognition sparked in her eyes, and Jack's breath caught in his throat. "Margaret Montgomery," she murmured again, as if she were struggling to put together pieces of a puzzle. Anxiety began to mount in Jack's chest, the pieces fitting together painfully well. "Margaret," he breathed, the name igniting memories buried deep within him. This was the woman his mother spoke of, the partner in her life that he never truly got to know. "I'm Jack. Jack Carter, your son." An electric silence filled the space, the chaos quieting as all eyes turned toward him, shocked expressions painted across every face. Margaret's eyes widened in disbelief. "No, it can't be. Yes," he said, his voice trembling now with emotion. "Mom told me about you. I never knew anything." "Stop." Maria's voice broke through, shaking Jack free from the weight of disbelief. "We need to focus on her now, remember? The ambulance is on the way." But the storm of realization was too much. Jack could barely think as he hovered over her. "You were my mother's best friend. There's so much I want to learn, so much I need to say. I thought I was lost," but Maria's steady hand squeezed Jack's shoulder. "Jack, we'll have time for this later. Right now, she needs to breathe." The chaos reoriented back to the present. All that mattered was getting Margaret help and ensuring her safety. A siren wail sliced through the air, signaling the arrival of the ambulance. Jack's thoughts raced, weaving memories between his own discoveries and dreams pulled apart by time. As paramedics rushed in, Jack couldn't shake the feeling clenching his gut. This moment changed everything. His journey felt like it was on the edge of something monumental. Would he finally learn the truth about his family? Could this be the start of rebuilding connections? Margaret looked at him with a mixture of fear and recognition, expressions tangled like vines. In that instant, he felt a bond working its way back into the world, but would it flourish or fall apart under the strain of reality? Jack's gaze held Margaret's, the weight of their shared past now resting heavily in the air. "Stay with us," he urged, feeling the reality of their fragmented lives both haunt and inspire him. As the ambulance doors swung shut, and a world of uncertainty lay before him, Jack knew one thing: this was only the beginning. But would he be ready for the depths of the revelations to come? Jack paced frantically outside the emergency room, the sterile smell of antiseptic hanging heavy in the air. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, a relentless reminder of time slipping away. A knot twisted in his stomach, tight and unyielding as he wrestled with confusion. Here he was, standing outside the place that might hold answers he'd spent years seeking. Maria sat close beside him, her expression a careful mix of support and concern. "She'll be okay," she reassured him, though there was worry etched deep into her brow. "You did everything you could." Jack barely acknowledged her words, his mind racing. He replayed the moment Margaret had opened her eyes. Memories flooded in, unbidden and raw. It felt like he was holding a fragile bird, afraid to let go lest it fly away again. What if she doesn't remember anything?" he said, his voice more hollow than he intended. "She'll remember," Maria replied gently, her hand resting on his knee. "You're part of her story." He wanted to believe that. But his past was cluttered with silence, with questions that had always been left unanswered. Would Margaret have the keys to unlock the parts of his mother's life he had always felt were kept from him? The emergency room doors swung open with a harsh creak, and a doctor stepped into the waiting area. His white coat seemed too bright against the dull surroundings. Jack shot to his feet, his heart pounding in rhythm with his hopes. "How is she?" The doctor nodded, a cautious smile breaking through. "She is stable now. We're going to keep her for observation, but she is responsive. You can see her in a moment." Relief washed over Jack in waves, his knees nearly buckling. He exchanged a quick glance with Maria, who offered a warm smile, her eyes brightening just a bit. "See?" she whispered. "You did good." As they walked down the sterile corridor, Jack's mind raced with possibilities. What stories would Margaret tell? What parts of his mother's life would emerge from the shadows? The weight of anticipation surged through him, mingling with nerves. Finally, they reached Margaret's room. The door was slightly ajar, and inside, the soft beeping of machines provided a steady rhythm to the silence. Jack hesitated, his hand hovering above the doorknob, suddenly acutely aware of the moment's gravity. "Go ahead," Maria urged, giving him an encouraging nudge. With a deep breath, Jack pushed the door open. Margaret lay on the hospital bed, looking more vulnerable than he had ever imagined. Her face was pale, framed by the stark white of the sheets, but her eyes sparkled with recognition. "Jack," she whispered, a smile breaking through her confusion. "You really are here." He stepped closer, fighting against the overwhelming swirl of emotions. "Yes, I'm here, Mom's son." He hesitated, as if the weight of the words could echo through time. Margaret's gaze softened, and for a moment, Jack could see a glimmer of the past in her eyes. "I'm so sorry I didn't." Her voice cracked, but the sincerity was unmistakable. He reached for her hand, warmth flooding his heart at the fragile connection. "I know. We have time. You can tell me everything." As they sat together, stories flowed through the air like music notes just waiting for an audience. Feed a hungry soul, heal old wounds. Jack felt hope swell within him. Yet, just beneath the surface, an unsettling question nagged at him. He was eager to uncover the hidden layers of his family's history, but what if the truth held secrets darker than he could handle? Margaret shifted slightly, her eyes clouded with something unspoken. "Jack, there is so much you don't know." His heart quickened. What revelation was she avoiding? "Please, tell me," Jack urged. Tension hung thick in the air as he held her gaze. As Margaret opened her mouth to speak, the door swung wide open. A man in a tailored suit strode in, a confident presence that immediately shifted the atmosphere. Jack's heartbeat quickened in frustration. "What now?" he thought. Margaret's expression shifted, alarm flashing in her eyes. "No, not now." The man glanced between them and a smirk played on his lips. "Ah, Margaret, I see you've met your son. We have a lot to discuss, but you should really be more careful." Jack's pulse raced as anger flared inside him. "Who are you?" The question erupted from him, fueled by a mix of confusion and protectiveness. "Let's just say," he said smoothly, "I'm here to help." As Jack stood there, frozen, the world around him fell away, the reality of his frantic search overshadowing his heart's desire to reconnect with his past. Who was this man, and what did he want with Margaret and with him? The stakes were suddenly much higher, the promise of connection now tangled in a web of uncertainty that made Jack's heart race faster. Jack's heart hammered against his ribcage, the stranger's calm demeanor infuriating him. "Help?" he scoffed, eyes narrowing. "You stroll in here like you own the place, and you're here to help?" "Jack," Margaret said softly, her hand trembling as she looked between them. "Please." The man stepped closer, an unsettling confidence emanating from him. "I understand this is surprising, but I assure you, I have your mother's best interests at heart." The way he said mother felt heavy, like he was claiming ownership of something she had lost. Jack clenched his fists at his sides. "What do you want? Why don't we start with a conversation?" he suggested. Margaret has been through a lot, and I think it will help if we all sit down together. No. Margaret's voice rose above the sterile beeping of machines, her eyes wide with panic. Not now, not like this. I don't want to talk to you. A flicker of darkness crossed the man's face, but he masked it quickly. This isn't about what you want, Margaret. You need to understand why I'm here. Jack stepped in front of his mother protectively. You've made it very clear that this isn't about her at all. Who are you? What do you have to do with her? You're a complete stranger barging into our moment. Enough. The man said sharply, but his voice lacked conviction. I'm well aware that my presence here is unwelcome, but circumstances have changed. Changed how? Jack asked, bracing himself for whatever lie was about to spill from this man's lips. I'm here because of her past. I know things that could change everything for both of you. Margaret's gaze flickered away, her face drained of color. Jack felt a harsh knot form in his throat as he sensed the gravity of what the man suggested. You know about her past? Of course. And the longer you avoid this conversation, the more complicated things will become. He glanced at Margaret, his voice softening. You need to face the truth, Margaret. Hiding never solves anything. A silence enveloped the room, thick and suffocating. Jack turned back to his mother, searching for answers in her eyes. Mom, what is he talking about? What truth? Margaret swallowed hard, a torrent of emotions flitting across her features. Jack, there are things from my life decisions I made that affect us, that affected you. I never wanted to keep them from you. What did you do? Jack asked, the question trembling on the edge of despair. I just didn't want to burden you. I thought it was best to keep you safe, Margaret murmured, voice breaking. The stranger leaned forward, a predatory gleam in his eyes. Burden? Perhaps the truth will set you free, Margaret. But you have to be willing to embrace it. Tell me. Jack demanded, his voice rising, overshadowed by the swirling apprehension. You can't just drop hints like that. Not now. Margaret faltered, her gaze drifting back to the floor. It's complicated, Jack, and it's dangerous. I'm not afraid of danger. I'm afraid of being left in the dark, he replied, his chest tightening. The man straightened, as if sensing opportunity had struck. That's exactly why we need to talk. There are forces at play you don't understand, things that can help you and hurt you. Jack's breath caught in his throat, worry eclipsing his burning need for answers. Forces? What do you mean? Legacy, Jack, the man said, almost conspiratorially. Your family has a legacy that was buried, and it's time for it to come to light. You deserve to know who you really are. Jack felt the world spin around him. Who he really was. He had spent his life chasing shadows, and now it seemed they were finally ready to step into the light. But was he ready for whatever truths awaited him? Margaret's hand clasped his tighter, a visceral sign that they were still in this together. You may not like what you hear, but you have to understand, Jack. Sometimes the truth is scarier than the lie. The room fell into an unsettling quiet. Jack's heart raced, caught between fear and curiosity. This wasn't just about Margaret anymore, it was about him, too. He felt like he was standing on the edge of a precipice. Unsure of whether he should leap or pull back. Please, he whispered, desperate for clarity. Tell me. As he searched Margaret's face, he saw something flicker in her eyes: regret, fear, but also an unyielding determination. She opened her mouth once more, and the words hung in the air, ready to shatter the fragile world he'd known. Then, the door creaked open, and in walked a tall woman, her expression unreadable. Jack's pulse quickened again as he sensed more change approaching. What more could this all mean? In the back of his mind, he dreaded what revelations could unravel next. Would this stranger bring answers or chaos? Everyone, please, the newcomer said, a calm authority present. We have much to discuss. With that, Jack felt the ground beneath him shift as secrets began to swirl dangerously close to the surface. Would he emerge whole, or would he be consumed by the storm ahead? Jack's heart thudded in his chest as he stared at the woman who had just entered the room. Her striking features were softened by a compassionate gaze, yet there was a resolute strength about her. She stepped in, closing the door behind her with an almost deliberate slowness, as if to trap them in this moment of uncertainty. "Who are you?" Jack asked, dread lacing his voice. He felt the burden of all the unsaid things pressing against him like a heavy weight. "I am someone who has been looking out for your family, Jack," she said, her voice steady and reassuring. "My name is Evelyn, and I've come in response to a crisis, one that could have serious implications for both of you." Jack exchanged a glance with Margaret. She was trembling, her fingers digging into Jack's arm, and he could feel the anxious buzz between them. He swallowed hard, urging himself to focus. "What kind of implications?" Evelyn took a couple of steps closer. "Your mother has a history we need to confront together. But more importantly, there is something connected to you, something powerful." Jack felt a rush of confusion mixed with a strange flicker of excitement. "What does that mean? Why are you really here?" Margaret's gaze flickered between Jack and Evelyn, her expression oscillating between hope and despair. "Evelyn, does he need to hear this now?" "Yes, Margaret. If there were ever a time to be honest, it's now," Evelyn insisted. "Jack deserves to understand the stakes." "Stakes?" Jack echoed, his throat dry. "You keep talking about stakes and legacies. What are we dealing with here?" Evelyn paused, her eyes softening as she regarded him. "This isn't just history we're digging into. It's about a legacy of power that follows your lineage, and it has consequences. There are people, powerful people, who wouldn't want this information disclosed. But if we stand together, if you understand who you are, then you could reclaim what is rightfully yours." "What is rightfully mine?" Jack asked, a mixture of skepticism and curiosity bubbling within him. "Your family's wealth and influence. But to get there, you must embrace the truth of your mother's past, and then, Jack, you must choose. You can either step into the light or let the darkness envelop you," Evelyn said, her voice rising with intensity. The room fell silent again, thick with the weight of Evelyn's words. Jack felt staggered, the idea of a hidden legacy sprawling out before him like a map of uncharted territory. His whole life had been a search for belonging and truth, but now it seemed tangled in the web of secrets that surrounded his mother. Margaret finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Jack, I wanted to protect you, I didn't want you to know the risks. I feared what would happen if our past caught up with us." "That's not your decision to make for me," he replied, feeling more fire surge through him. "I can't be kept in the dark any longer. If there is something out there for me, if it's my family's legacy, I need to know." The uncertainty that had clouded the room shifted slightly, the air now charged. Jack could sense the room thickening with hesitance and gravity. In that moment, he realized that this wasn't just about vengeance or a longing for connection, it was about freedom. Evelyn took a deep breath, as if preparing to unveil a truth woven from shadows. "Very well. Then let's start at the beginning. Your mother was part of a world that many would kill to protect, or destroy. The truth lies in her past choices, and they hold the key to your future." Jack felt his pulse quicken, adrenaline surging as he braced himself for what was to come. The walls felt as if they were closing in, the air thickening with the weight of revelations ready to spill forth, but before Evelyn could continue, the lights flickered ominously. An unsettling sense of intrusion swept through the room, as if the storm of secrets was brewing outside their fragile little bubble. In that instant, Jack could feel the ground shifting again beneath him. This was no longer just about uncovering his family's legacy, they had awakened something that might already be stirring in the shadows. "Evelyn, wait," he started, but his voice was drowned out by the distant sound of footsteps echoing in the corridor. "We're not alone." Jack's gaze darted toward the door, his heart racing faster than ever. The truth was closing in faster than he had anticipated. What had they unleashed, and would they be ready to confront whatever came next? He could hardly breathe as he faced the uncertain path ahead. The journey was just beginning, and what lay in wait might very well change everything. Jack's breath caught in his throat. The footsteps grew louder, a relentless thudding rhythm that filled the room with tension. He could feel every inch of his skin prickling, an urgent sensation that screamed for him to act. "What do we do?" he whispered to Evelyn, his voice barely more than a tremor. Evelyn's eyes turned serious, intent and unwavering. "We don't show fear. Stay calm. They want to attract unnecessary attention." Margaret's grip on Jack's arm tightened. The weight of their past hung between them, a shadow that had morphed into something living, breathing, and now threatening to consume them whole. "Who are they?" Jack asked, his voice cracking slightly. "They're here for the same reason I am. To seek the truth. But their motives are less noble." Evelyn gestured toward the door, where the echoes now mingled with hushed voices, low and conspiratorial. Jack stood taller, summoning whatever courage he had left. He understood that whatever was waiting on the other side of that door, it wouldn't be kind. "What do they want with us?" he pressed, his heart hammering, each pulse a reminder of the stakes. Evelyn looked at him, her gaze unwavering. "They want power, Jack. They believe your mother's past holds a key to something they desire. If they find out you're connected, they'll do anything to keep that from happening." Margaret finished, her face pale. Jack was caught in a storm of emotions. Fear coursed through him, but intermingled was a flicker of defiance. "They can't control me. My mother's past is mine, too. I want to know the truth, no matter the cost." An unspoken bond connected Jack and Margaret as they exchanged glances. They were in this together, no matter how turbulent the waters ahead might be. The footsteps ceased unexpectedly, and Jack's heart threatened to leap right out of his chest. Silence enveloped the room, thick and intimidating. He felt a surge of adrenaline as he took a step toward the door. "We can't just sit here and wait for them," he said, determination sparking in his chest. Evelyn's hand shot out and grabbed his wrist, firm yet gentle. "We can't confront them yet. We need to understand who they are first, how connected they might be to your mother's past. If they are the ones we think they are, revealing ourselves could be dangerous. You need to trust me." Jack nodded, though the frustration gnawed at him. Time felt like quicksand. The longer they waited, the more uncertain his reality became. He had just begun to grasp the magnitude of his family's hidden legacy, only to have it overshadowed by sudden danger. As the silence stretched, Jack's mind raced, trying to piece together the puzzle. Just as he opened his mouth to speak again, a loud knock shattered the stillness, echoing in the small room. "Open up. We know you're in there." Jack felt a chill wash over him. The voice was rough, authoritative, and full of menace. There was no denying the threat looming just outside that door. "Jack," Evelyn whispered urgently, eyes darting towards the window. "We need to move. Now." Without thinking, Jack turned toward Margaret, urgency igniting something primal within him. "We can't let them take us." "Not now," he murmured. Evelyn nodded briskly. "Listen closely. We'll make a break for it out the window. But we must be quiet and quick." Jack barely had time to process her words when the door rattled hard, the sound strong enough to shake the very foundation of their fears. Time was running out, and the thrill of the unknown was like a flame urging him forward. Instinct kicked in, and he moved toward the window, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He glanced back at Margaret, the fear in her eyes mirrored his own, but he also saw something else: resolve. Both of them were ready for whatever came next, steeling themselves for the leap of faith they had to take into the darkness of the unknown. As the door creaked ominously, Jack knew one thing: there was no turning back now. Whatever lay beyond that threshold would define their future, and together, they'd face it head-on. But just how deep would this rabbit hole go? Jack hesitated for a split second, the door rattling violently as anticipation bubbled in the air. It was now or never. He shot a quick look at Margaret and saw the flash of determination in her eyes, a spark ignited despite the chaos swirling around them. "Okay, let us do this," he said, his voice steady. He pushed the window open, the sounds of the night filtering in a world alive outside, beckoning for escape. The moonlight illuminated their path, casting long shadows over their next steps. Evelyn nodded and climbed through the window first, swiftly followed by Jack. He reached back, helping Margaret navigate the treacherous drop. She took a deep breath, and with a leap of faith, she was free, landing beside him in a soft thud, shaken but resolute. "Stay close," Evelyn whispered urgently, glancing back toward the building before they darted across the dimly lit pavement. The night air felt electric, like the calm before a storm. Jack felt alive, every nerve firing with exhilaration. This was his moment. They sprinted toward the nearby tree line, breathing heavy but spirit soaring, hearts synchronized in a risky dance between fear and newfound hope. Jack glanced back once, though, feeling the weight of the unknown behind him. The building loomed, a representation of every hidden truth now rushing to the surface. "It's not far, just a little more," Evelyn urged, her voice tinged with a mix of fear and determination. As the trees closed around them, their hiding place became a refuge, a cocoon from the storm that had threatened to unfold. Jack leaned against a sturdy tree, trying to catch his breath. Margaret, still shaken, looked at Jack and Evelyn in awe. "Why were they after us? What did they want?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. Evelyn looked directly into Margaret's eyes, unyielding. "Your past, Margaret. It's tangled in a web of power and deception. They believe there is something within your story they can exploit, something that could threaten both your lives. We need to be cautious." Jack felt a surge of anger. "Is this about the legacy you mentioned? What does it mean? Why am I a part of it?" His questions poured out, fueled by the urgency of their flight. "Your family has connections to things far greater than you realize, a legacy that involves wealth, influence, and shadows," Evelyn explained. "But it's not just about what has been inherited, it's about how you choose to wield that power moving forward." Margaret shivered, memories clearly resurfacing in her mind, shadows of her past flickering across her features. "I want to protect you, Jack. I never wanted you to be involved in this world. Life outside was supposed to be safe." "Safe?" he snapped, the frustration boiling over. "I was never safe. I've been living in a gilded cage this whole time." The silence that followed was thick with tension. Margaret's brow furrowed, absorbing her son's words. This journey was no longer about recounting a past she had hoped to bury, it was about forging a new path together. "We can rise from this, it won't define us," Jack continued, the fire in his belly calming into a steely resolve. "But I need to know everything. If we are facing shadows, then let us shine a light on them." Margaret's expression softened, gratitude flooding her eyes. There was a recognition that their bond once frayed could become stronger than it had ever been. "I promise, I'll tell you everything. We'll face this together." Evelyn looked cautious but hopeful. "To do so, we'll need to gather information and allies. We can't risk being blindsided again." Jack nodded, embracing the challenge. "We'll take this step by step, I won't shrink back anymore." As they formed a united front in this uncertainty, he knew they could harness the power of their shared history to navigate through whatever darkness lay ahead. For the first time, Jack truly felt the strength of family pulsing through him, igniting a fire of purpose. As the night wore on, under the watchful gaze of 1,000 stars, Jack, Margaret, and Evelyn bound themselves to the truth they were about to uncover. Each step taken beneath the oak trees filled Jack with resolve, a sense of belonging greater than anything he had ever known. They would unearth the weight of their legacy, and whatever monsters surfaced, they would meet together. And just as dawn began to pierce the horizon, the sense of liberation washed over Jack. This was their moment. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who truly need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of backing this channel through these actions.